Stop chasing fleeting attention and start cultivating true magnetic appeal. This video reveals the secret weapon of highly attractive men, an unshakable, future-focused vision. Discover how aligning your life with a clear personal vision doesn't just change your direction, it transforms your entire presence. There comes a moment in a man's life when he becomes exhausted by the endless pursuit of attention, when he begins to feel the hollowness of trying to be seen, admired, or desired. And in that moment, if he is paying attention to himself in a deeper way, he realizes that the attention he has spent so much effort trying to earn was never the real source of his power. It was merely a reflection, a shadow, a faint echo of something greater he had not yet learned to access within himself. You have felt this on a level that is difficult to articulate, a subtle awareness that your value does not come from the reactions you can pull from others, but from the direction, depth, and quiet certainty that lives behind your eyes when you know where you are going in life, who you are becoming, and what you stand for, even if you cannot yet fully express it. Yet the culture around you has conditioned you to believe that attraction is something you chase, something you persuade, something you earn through performance and effort, encouraging you to bend yourself outward, to reach, to pursue, to compete for the gaze of others, especially women, as if your worth is determined by how many eyes linger on you, even though you have already seen that attention gained through effort collapses the moment the effort stops. The average man lives in that endless loop, constantly performing, constantly reacting, constantly seeking validation, hoping that someone's attention will fill the void he has not learned to fill from within. And because of this, his presence lacks depth, consistency, and gravitational pull, since everything he presents to others depends on whether he is being accepted in that moment. But a man who carries a vision does not chase, because his life is already moving in a direction that is larger than any single interaction, and this forward motion creates a silent gravity, an atmosphere around him, a kind of internal coherence that does not require explanation. It is felt before it is understood, sensed before it is analyzed, and recognized before it is consciously named. Women respond to that gravity instinctively, not through logic or deliberate thought, but through the subtle emotional intelligence that operates beneath language, the part of her that is always sensing who you are becoming rather than who you are right now, and whether your path is something she could step into without losing herself. This is why the more you chase, the more distant she becomes, not because she is rejecting you, but because chasing signals that your center of gravity is outside of yourself, that your emotional direction depends on her responses, her attention, her recognition. And a woman cannot trust the man whose sense of self shifts according to who is watching him, because he is not anchored, not rooted, not held by anything deeper than the moment. A man with vision, however, is not defined by the responses of others, because his life is oriented towards something beyond immediate validation. He wakes with a direction, moves with intention, speaks with purpose, and even in silence, his presence communicates that his energy is not scattered outward, but gathered inward, dense, concentrated, unmoved. This is the beginning of magnetic presence, when your purpose is not something you occasionally think about, but something that shapes the way you walk, breathe, observe, and act, creating a steady, unwavering rhythm that others feel in your presence without needing explanation. Women do not fall for the man who tries to prove himself. They fall for the man who does not need to, the man whose identity is not negotiated in the moment, the man who carries himself as if the future is already unfolding in his favor, not through arrogance, but through the quiet confidence of someone who has chosen a direction and is moving toward it with patience, discipline, and continuity. She is not drawn to what you show her. She is drawn to what she senses in the space behind your actions, the direction of your life, The depth of your gaze when you think of what you are building, the steadiness of your breathing when you face uncertainty, the emotional weight of your silence when you are not performing, only existing. A man who lacks vision is forced to chase in order to feel alive. But a man who possesses vision becomes alive from within. And this internal vitality is what women feel, respond to, lean toward, and remember. You are not here to learn how to attract women. You are here to learn how to become the kind of man a woman cannot ignore. And that begins with vision. You begin to understand that attraction is not an emotional event. It is a psychological response to orientation, the direction your life is pointed toward, the internal structure you carry, the gravity of your presence, and the steadiness with which you move through your days. A woman responds to the shape of your internal world long before she responds to the surface of your appearance or the sound of your voice. She feels the weight of your direction, whether you speak of it or not, because the human nervous system evolved to sense potential stability and leadership instinctively, far below conscious thought. This is why a man who is busy searching for approval always feels hollow to her, no matter how kind he is, no matter how hard he tries, because his center is not within himself. It is floating outside him, waiting for another to define it. She cannot trust a man who does not belong to himself. You start to see now that presence is not something you perform. It is something you become when your life aligns under a singular internal principle that guides your decisions, your routine, your impulses, and your emotional stance. When you have a vision, an internal picture of who you are becoming, your movements slow, your speech becomes deliberate, your emotional field calms, and your silence begins to communicate more powerfully than your words ever could, because you are no longer reacting to life, you are directing it. This is the foundation of stoic masculinity, self-governance, the ability to feel emotion without being consumed by it, the ability to experience desire without being led by it, the ability to observe your impulses without obeying them. Marcus Aurelius wrote of this as ruling the empire within, the sovereignty of one's own soul. And it is here where your presence becomes unmistakably magnetic, because a woman senses that your life does not bend around her. Rather, she is invited to witness the unfolding of something already in motion. When you possess this kind of internal architecture, the dynamic between you and women changes in ways that feel almost surreal. You no longer interpret her attention as a reward, nor her withdrawal as a threat. Instead, you see her reactions, her emotional shifts, her curiosity, her tone, her body language, as feedback, signals that reflect the emotional climate of the moment, not the value of your identity. You stop trying to win her, impress her, or convince her, because you finally understand something most men never realize. Attraction is not earned, it is evoked. And it is evoked when you are living from your center. The average man never experiences this shift. He believes the emotional world is reactive and unpredictable, something he must chase, manage, or stabilize. He moves through relationships like a man trying to hold water with open hands, tightening his grip every time he senses it slipping, not realizing that pressure itself is the cause of the loss. But a man rooted in vision does not chase emotional certainty. He creates emotional gravity. His energy does not reach outward for validation. It draws inward, building mass, forming depth, accumulating meaning. And women feel that depth immediately, the way one senses the difference between shallow water and the abyss. This is where the Machiavellian layer quietly enters, not as manipulation, but as strategic understanding. You begin to see that human beings, including women, respond not to words, but to signals, pacing, presence, timing, boundaries, silence, direction, consistency. You learn that power often exists in what you do not say, what you do not react to, what you allow to pass without explanation. Because every reaction is an admission of influence, And the man who is influenced by everything is owned by everything. So your silence becomes selective, your attention becomes discerning, your time becomes structured, your emotional responses become intentional. You begin to realize that dominance is not force, it is stability. Influence is not pressure, it is certainty. Attraction is not pursuit, it is magnetic invitation. Women are not drawn to men who need them. They are drawn to men who move with purpose, who have a direction so alive within them that even their stillness carries momentum. Picture this clearly. A man sitting in a room alone, working on something that matters to him. His phone buzzes. He does not rush. He does not flinch. His attention remains where he has chosen to place it. Not because he is playing a game, but because his life already contains meaning without external stimulation. A woman observing this does not merely see discipline, she feels consequence. She senses that this man cannot be easily moved, and in that realization, respect awakens, curiosity wakes, attraction sharpens. Your steadiness becomes the mirror in which she confronts her own emotional storms. Your emotional silence becomes the invitation for her to reveal more. Your lack of urgency becomes the signal that you are already whole. And slowly, something shifts inside her. She begins to lean inward, not because you asked, not because you impressed her, but because your life has weight, and she feels it. This is psychological gravity. This is masculine authority. This is attraction born from presence, not performance. There comes a moment in a man's life when he realizes that everything he has been chasing was a reflection of something he had not yet built within himself. The validation, the admiration, the intimacy, the loyalty, these were never external rewards to be captured. They were responses to an internal state, and when you understand this, everything changes. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but deeply, in the way a river gradually cuts through stone and reshapes the entire landscape around it. You begin to recognize that your power is not measured by how many people notice you, or how quickly a woman responds to your messages, or how often you are praised. Your power is measured by the consistency of your direction, the calmness of your emotional presence, and the unwavering quality of your internal standards. This is where authority begins, not as dominance over others, but as mastery over yourself. A man with self-governance does not need to demand respect. It forms around him like atmosphere. A man with purpose does not seek reassurance. His life reinforces him. A man with inner stillness does not fear loss. He understands that what is aligned will remain, and what is misaligned will fall away. When you live this way, the dynamic between you and women takes on an entirely different tone. Attraction becomes less of a pursuit and more of a gravitational event. She finds herself drawn toward you without fully understanding why. Drawn not to your image, but to your structure, your emotional cadence, your presence that does not bend to the moment, but steadily guides it. It is not intensity she seeks, it is orientation, a sense that when she steps near you, she is stepping into a direction that has momentum, meaning, and stability. And yet, this does not mean you become cold. It does not mean pushing away connection or suppressing emotion or wearing a mask of stoic stillness. True stoicism is not numbness, it is clarity. It is the ability to feel deeply without being overrun. It is the ability to love without losing your center. It is the ability to care without collapsing into dependency. Women do not want a man without emotion. They want a man whose emotions have structure, whose inner world does not dissolve under pressure, whose affection remains steady instead of impulsive. Your depth is not in how much you feel, but in how you hold what you feel. This is where the masculine and the feminine meet in their highest expression, not in control, not in struggle, but in complement. Your stillness to her movement, your direction to her expansion, your grounded presence to her emotional expression, And when you embody this dynamic, you no longer try to prove your worth. You no longer chase. You no longer seek permission to exist in your own life. The tension that once ruled your behavior dissolves into quiet assurance. Your gaze steadies, your pace slows. Your voice gains depth, not in tone, but in meaning. There will be moments when old habits will try to return, impulses to rush, to validate, to seek approval, to react. In those moments, you do not fight the impulse. You observe it, you feel its shape, and you let it pass like weather, because you know now that your identity is not formed from your reactions. It is formed from your responses. This is the evolution from boy to man, the shift from being ruled by the moment to ruling your presence within the moment. When a woman encounters a man who lives this way, something in her relaxes, not because he controls her, but because she senses that he controls himself. She feels the grounding of your being, the quiet certainty of your direction, the steadiness of your inner world. And her respect deepens, her desire intensifies, her curiosity becomes ongoing. Because you are no longer a fleeting experience, you are a continuum, a direction, a life force with momentum. This is where true attraction lives, not in the beginning, not in the spark, but in the continuation of presence over time. And if you look back at the man you once were, the one who chased, who worried, who tried to force outcomes, you do not shame him. You simply recognize that he did not yet know the weight of stillness, the strength of direction, the gravity of self-possession. He was searching outward for what could only be built inward. But now you have begun. You are no longer shaping your identity around reactions. You are shaping your direction, your purpose, your internal order, and women feel this. People feel this. Your very silence begins to carry meaning. So let the world move at its frantic pace. Let others prove themselves, explain themselves, chase outcomes, demand recognition. Your life is no longer determined by external noise. Your life moves in alignment with the vision you have chosen, the structure you are building, the self you are becoming. Because attraction is not the goal. Attention is not the reward. Validation is not the measure. The goal is to become a man whose presence is felt long before it is understood. A man who holds himself with quiet strength and unwavering direction. A man who does not chase or retreat, but remains. And when you live this way, women do not simply notice you, they remember you. They feel the imprint of your presence long after words have faded. This is the gravity of a man who belongs to himself. This is the essence of masculine authority. This is where your story begins again. Not in the pursuit of being wanted, but in the cultivation of a life that pulls the world toward it.